Hello everybody. Welcome to another episode of our craft terms glossary, where we explore different crafting terms. This is a series of stitch types. It's also a series of that's documenting and sharing our slow process of our primary deconstruct collection. That's an upcycled collection made from used and found materials and objects. What is an object, if not an animate being? So, yeah, we want to start off first by acknowledging the land that we're on. We're currently on occupied Coast Salish and Duwamish territory, and we invite you to acknowledge and take a moment to think about the lands, the indigenous lands that you're on, and to also think about the lands of our ancestors, because we each have ancestors who were at some point in time, even if really long ago, were stewards of the land and were living in reciprocity with the land. And so we want to invoke all of our complete ancestors and invite them into this space with us. And so sitting here on the land with the sky above and the sea that surrounds, we also want to invite all the elements and directions of our complete ancestors, including the air, earth, fire, water, and akasha, to guide us through this process of transformation. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically, as we labor with these materials, we birth new characters, we birth new portals for embodiment, and the space that we hold. We're going to raise the flag of imagination, and as we enter into this plane of imagination, the space that we hold, while the space that we hold, the space that holds us, the space that we create from, is this generative process. And so this can also be a way of coming into completion with intergenerational trauma. This is a piece that we've been working on with. It's a shirt, it was a shirt. Who knows what it will become? But when we go through this, I just want to say that this is in this video, the term we're going to be covering is the knot stitch. We're going to be knotting. We're going to be doing lots of knotting. We're not going to be knotting. We're just going to be knotting, okay? What does that mean? Good question. Let's find out what that means. While we allow these craft terms, while we allow the knot, the act of knotting, let's explore what that means. let's come into deeper awareness of what that means through experience. Okay, so I'm starting with the thread. This is a embroidery thread, a cotton embroidery thread that's twisted, and we're going to be doing some embellishment here. This is a print that I screen printed over top of this shirt. Another one part of the primary deconstruct collection is one of the offerings of that is for you, if you have anything that's any shirt or sweatshirt or anything that's stained and you want a stain covered up, then you can choose which print you want, and we can screen print. You can choose the color too, depending on what colors there are. You can choose the color to be printed on over it as well. And then if you want, you could also embroider over it and embellish it even more. So we're going to start with a knot on the inside of this garment, and the way how to anchor a knot into a material. So what I'm going to do here is enter the needle, because this here is a seam that's been top stitched down, so if there's like a little seam you can enclose your tails in, this is what you do. You enter into it a little bit, and leave your tail. See, you can't see the stitch on the outside because, oh, I guess you can. Let's try that again. See, because it's enclosed. So if we just leave our tails here, we could, and we make our knot here, then the tails have space. Because sometimes when you cut the tail right next to the knot, it comes unraveled. But if we can tuck the tail inside, then we can just like clip this little bit here after we've knotted it. We'll just hold it in place until we've done that. So to make a knot, we'll take a stitch, a small stitch, leave a loop. And depending on what it is that you're doing, depending on the heaviness of the material or the thickness of the material and the thickness of the thread, you kind of you can match like those two things, you know, the durability with durability. You can use double thread, so you'll have two tails. Like right here now I just have a single thread, and as I'm sewing I'm just holding this here so that the needle doesn't come off. But another option, if you want to have a really durable thread, you double thread it, and then so you would have two tails sticking out right here. But for me, this is where I'm at, and I made that loop, and so I'm going to go through that loop, wrap around it twice, and then I'm going to pull it tight. And to make a really secure knot, you want to do that twice. So let's take another stitch and loop around it once, loop around it twice, pull it tight, and then we have our knot. Okay? And now I could clip this so it's just kind of tucked inside there. So it's just as clean on the inside as it is on the outside in terms of stitches. Okay, now to pull my thread up to the top, to the face side of the material, I'm just going to insert the needle in right next to that knot, pull it through, and now we're going to begin making a series of knots with our sequins here. We made these sequins out of plastic water bottles, and so we prepared them. So what we're going to do is insert or put one on here like this. And then how do I make a knot? Well, one way to do it put the needle close to this, and I'm going to wrap my thread around it 3 times, or you could, depending on how big you want the knot to be. So let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and now after you've wrapped the thread around the needle, the thread that was immediately coming out of the sequin, and now we can pull our needle through. Oh, I did it a little bit too tight. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pull the needle through. Okay. And now you go back down through the hole of the sequin and then back up again. You can see that's what we did. So we're going to continue to join little we're going to join sequins with these knots. Okay. So I've in this I've shown you the knotting a thread for any stitch, that hand stitch that you're doing, if you want to knot into anchoring into the thread. And then we're also showing you the embroidery knot. Na, 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 na. And just the term not always cracks me up because it's like so contradictive. And just in not, like I know it's spelt K-N-O-T, but it sounds the same as not, like N-O-T. So I think it's contradictive in that we're just doing it freehand style wherever the thread wants to take us, we're going there. So yeah, where are we not going there? Are we going there? Where are we going? We don't really know. Now, what do we know? Knowing now. What do we know now that we did not know then? What did the not know that we did not know? What did we know that we did not know? What is the knowing? What is in between the knowing and not knowing? To not stitch, to knot a sequin while knotting a sequin. A sequin or a sequence of preparation, a sequence of movement. Here, let's zoom into what's going on a little bit more. Because I think it's so beautiful. It's not beautiful. It's knotting. It's not beautiful, okay? It's a knot. But what is it? What more? It's more than just a knot. How could it not? How could it not be? How could it not be a knot? How could it not? But really, how is it not? Oh, it's definitely caught. The knot is caught. It's not caught, but it is not. 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 We got out. We got out. Yeah. Okay. So then what really is it? how might we incorporate the river of culture, the history of colonization into a knot? How is it not just already so apparent in every single part of our world? How is it not just seeping into every single part of our fibers? Well, the ways that it's not are the ways that perhaps when we are remembering. I think this graphic that's on here is really interesting because to me it looks like a hand that's like dropping something, but the hand is all like pixelated, but even the pixels are like hand drawn, and so it's ironic. Well, it was hand drawn and then photocopied and then turned into a screen print and then printed onto here. But it was hand drawn over graph paper. So and now it's not. Yeah, so when I think of graph paper, you know, it kind of reminds me of like where we're at in our minds, and how we're just so much more than a two-dimensional axis. And how does this not like epitomize? How is this not the epitome of the X and Y axis? As it's coming up and then going back down, coming up and then going back down. It's almost like a three-dimensional axis, but like then there's light reflecting on it and moving, and so four-dimensional, five-dimensional, it's like spirit of creation. So in the essence of this graphic printed onto here is saying, like, it's calling out the irony of binary logic. Is it? Or is it not? Is it not calling out the irony of binary logic? And now we're stitching in the open air spaces. Because you can see the green on the yellow spots. So we're going for the yellow spots. The circles occupying the squares. Rising above. The not rising above. What is it that's not rising above? Well, it's the knot, you see. Oh. I see. The hierarchy. It's not about the hierarchy. not about being better. It's not about the race. It's not about exponential profit margins. Definitely not about that. Oh my gosh. Na 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 na. Na na na. Na 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 na. Ooh, 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 Why not 6 times? Well, that's just the number that came to me. Why not? That's what it looks like on the inside. If you know what I mean. Definitely not. Ooh. Ooh. So, primary deconstruct, huh? What does that mean? How is the knot? The anchor. The knot is like an anchor for something, for the thread, for the trail, for the tale. The tale that is told must not be. Must be not. The tale that is told must be knotted and knotted again. 2 knots make an is. 2 knots hold the stitch. The situation. What's the situation? What is knotted at the situation? We are actually coming towards the end of our tale. Da, 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 da. Okay, so now there's nowhere for us to really tuck our tails except for backtracking on our own thread. So let's just backtrack and loop back around the stitches we've already made for as long as we can. Until there's no more tail. Until we reach the end of our tail. We'll tuck along. We'll tuck it in, tuck it around, tuck it out, tuck it back. Back into the seam. And actually, we're gonna tuck it into the seam. There's not enough tail to actually make another knot, but we've been making knots this whole time, so I think we'll be okay. No. So now we've tucked it back, we're tucking it back, and we're gonna clip it, and that's that. We've been knotted many times. So thank you for tuning into this. We also want to thank all of our ancestors for guiding us through our process of transformation and for revealing the wisdom contained in the act of the craft of the knot itself, of the double knot. Well, We now release. We now release you. We release our ancestors and thank you. We release the plane of the imagination. And so we thank you for coming along. Until next time, blessings.